The PM has advised people to act like they have COVID-19 if they feel confused about what they can or can't do during the 4-week lockdown. Now, to cover off some of your questions, we're joined by journalist Charlotte Cook from our Wellington studio. Hello, Charlotte. Lots of questions. Let's see if
many questions.
Yeah, let's get through as many of them as we can. What have you heard from frontline health workers about steps they are taking to protect their whānau? This listener wants to know.
And this has been a big question. So I've spoken to a GP. When they come home, they come straight into the garage. They take off all of their clothes, they put everything in a hot wash, and they go and take a shower before interacting with their whānau. Another nurse working in Wellington Hospital says she's choosing to sleep in the spare room in the sleep out and using separate shower and bathroom facilities. There is no official line as yet, but obviously do what works for you and your whānau. And obviously hand washing with soap and hot water is always effective.
Can family members provide childcare to essential workers if they are not living together? Now, this comes really into the fore because at midnight tonight, schools are not available from that point on to anyone.
Essential workers with children who need caregivers could select a buddy to join their self-isolated group who can then act as the caregiver. The important thing here is that that caregiver cannot have contacts outside of their own household. So think of yourself as a bubble. Their household is in contact with them, your caregiver is then in contact with your family, but there is no one additional added to this bubble. Think of it as that bubble and don't try and pop it.
Good point there. Another person says, how far can I travel by car? Ashburton to Christchurch to drop off groceries to elderly parents, 5k's up the road to feed my horses, or 15 kilometres to a Tararua loop track.
Ultimately, the government wants people to stay home. Travel between towns won't be permitted. The advice is no playgrounds. Avoid any spaces or places where you'll touch surfaces or your child will touch surfaces that then can create a risk. Feeding the horses is a necessity of life, but police can and might stop you on your way or anyone moving about the country to see what they are doing. The message is quite clear: no mooching. So go to your essential services, avoid contact with everyone, and remember the 2-metre distance where you are near people. Obviously, just remember what Jacinda says. Treat your decisions like you have COVID-19. What would you expect people around you to do if they were infected?
So the specific element of that question about groceries to elderly parents, this is quite a distance they're trekking though, Ashburton to Christchurch. So,
yeah, I would say at this point, find a neighbour that's near them that is able to do the grocery run for them. That's too big of a trek to be going around, but no one wants elderly people to be left out and not looked after. So this is a perfect time to rally, keep your social distance. You're allowed to talk to people and engage with people, but it's the physical distancing. So someone in their neighbourhood could drop off the groceries at the front door, leave them there, knock on the door and run away. So there is no contact, but everyone is still getting fed.
Car repairs, this is another one that is featuring heavily in questions. Will garages remain open? What if you need a windscreen repair? What about your warrant?
Okay, so obviously you are going to try and be as least on the road as possible unless you are going to the supermarket or to, get healthcare or the pharmacy. But on the road, driver licensing will be closed during the lockdown, as will warranted fitnesses for non-essential workers. The Transport Agency is also working on giving essential workers the options for getting their cars certified during the lockdown. But a lot of these details are still being worked through. The government has had to act very fast to get this level 4 lockdown into process. So as these things are being worked through, I'm sure the information will become clearer for us.
Animals. Lots of people have animals. Will you be able to take your dog to the park?
Yes, you can take your dog to the park. You can take your dog for a walk. But again, pretend that you have COVID-19. Don't get close to anyone. Don't go cozying up with any other dog friends. Maintain your distance. Don't touch surfaces. Don't mooch around. Don't use your dog as an excuse to just kind of wander the streets. You are supposed to be home. We are in isolation. So don't try and find loopholes. This is a way that we can protect our country from an outbreak that could, kill thousands.
And from our South Island listeners, a lot are asking about firewood. Will they be able to get firewood delivered over the next month? Is it an essential service?
things are obviously going to get colder as we get into winter. So this is something that is being looked at. It was raised today in the press conference. But for the purposes of safety and warmth, it's considered an essential service. But the Ministry for Business and Innovation is only just starting to look at that now, so that will be clarified.
Thanks, Charlotte. That's our reporter, Charlotte Cook, and we will address some of your other questions later on in the program, so still keep them coming.